felt like, like kicking my friends to the curb and saying, F y'all, I'm out of here. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Now I'm breaking down chapters 2 and 3 of Tabitha Brown's book. What is it? Cooking for the Soul? Feeding the Soul Because It's My Business. That's the name of the book. Anyway, so chapter 2, Fix It Yourself, or You Have to Fix It First. In chapter 3, I'll be doing a little duo feature today. Duo feature, Everybody Can't Go With You. And then I low-key, I'm not sure if she knew she'd do this or if she did this intentionally, but just when we talk about numerology, she's really talking about these things in the chapter, and I'm just not sure if she knows. Because chapter 2, the number 2, is about co-creation and duality, polarity. But chapter 2, she talks about, co-creation with God and divine. I'll get to that really quickly. And then chapter 3, everybody can't go with you. And, in my numerology practice, 3 is always about, it's still about co-creation, but with people in the physical realm, like you, another person, and God in the divine, right? And that's usually what comes up when we see the 3s in the tarot. But, I'm digressing a little bit. But back to chapter number 2, You Have to Fix It Yourself. I really love this chapter. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be honest. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna love all the chapters if I'm being honest. But in this chapter, she says you have to fix it yourself. And she kind of speaks to, how some people say, fix it, Jesus. And then over the past week, tons of things have been coming to me. You know what I mean? I think Kerry Washington made a really good quote that just really spoke to me. She said, if you pray to catch the bus and then you stroll down the street, you're not going to catch the bus. That could have been your bus, but you're going to miss it. You know what I mean? And then she flipped it and said, if you run to catch the bus and you don't pray, you still might miss the bus. She says you have to pray, work with faith, and then run for the bus. You know what I mean? And if you still end up missing the bus, that wasn't your bus. You know what I mean? And I think that was just a beautiful way of summing up, what she's saying in this chapter. Because in this chapter, she spoke about, all her work as an actor and just having gratitude and appreciation for all the opportunities that were, that she was given. You know what I mean? And how over amount of time, it eventually gave her, the career that she wanted. You know what I mean? And she may not have seen it, but she was working with God and divine in this great co-creation type of way. And she was really trying her hardest and her best. And I've listened to Tabitha Brown in a number of interviews. And she just had so many jobs. She's had so many jobs and she's done everything to make her acting career the thing that it is. And even as being an extra, she spoke about being an extra on the set of Will and Grace. And then the producer there really, really loved it. And then, years later, that same producer is asking her what she wants to do. Yeah. The other part, you know what I mean? But in the book, going back to the when people say, fix it, Jesus, and then they don't do anything to make it happen, we got to make sure that we don't do this and that we got to move things out of our way. Something else that she brought up, which I thought was really great, is making excuses, right? You have to do the best that you can with what you have. But she was saying that some people, I wish I could, or I would, but I have to do this, or I have to do that, or whatever. Those are just excuses. You know what I mean? And then over the past year, I've really started identifying the excuses that I was making, and now I just have so much progress. I have so much progress in my life, and I'm sorry. My lips were chapped. But I just have so much progress because the thing is, I think the first thing that you have to do is be good at identifying when you're making an excuse. When you can start to catch yourself in the habit of making excuses, then you can realize how often you're doing that. And then when you realize how often you're doing it, you can then realize how many things, how many goals you're keeping yourself from accomplishing because of X, Y, or Z. Right? So stop making excuses. That was another good thing that I felt was beautiful about this chapter. It was a beautiful chapter. It was a great read. And not to say that it's a bad chapter, and I don't even know if this is I'm just going to bring it to you. Sometimes when I read books, I'm this was beautiful, this was great. And then also the reminder is always awesome. But, not to say I didn't need this chapter. But many of the lessons she spoke about in the chapter, I've already been going through. Now, it's always great to have a reminder. You know what I mean? It's always great to have a reminder. But as I was going through the chapter, I was like, yeah, she right. You know what I mean? There weren't that many epiphanies, right? But not that every chapter that you read has to have an epiphany, and it's just beautiful that I'm going along this journey with her, right? Next chapter, chapter 3. Again, there was stuff in this chapter that I already resonated with. Everyone can't go with you. I love it. Such a good chapter. But in it, she talks about how a lot of people will stop themselves from doing things because they want to do it with somebody, or they want approval from somebody else. You know what I mean? Or they want somebody else to go off and do the dream and have the vision and travel and da 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 with them. Now, that used to be something I had a bad time with. You know what I mean? I always wanted my friends and my closest people around me, to go do this with me. Come see. We'll do wop de wop. Come see what I'm doing. Let's do it together. But after a certain time, I can't even hold you. I'm not going to lie. I think that desire was always there, but I was never the type of person to not do it just because somebody didn't want to do it with me. I have always been the type of person, well, if you don't want to do it, I'm still going to go do it. I don't mind doing things alone. I have a strong preference for doing things with people. You know what I mean? But if other people can't rise to the occasion or come with me, then, I'm not going to stop my own progress. But in the chapter, she just talks about, if God gives you a vision or a mission and other people don't see it, it's because God didn't give the vision to them. God gave it to you to fulfill. And that was a really beautiful thing, that hit me in this really spectacular way. And I had a professor in college. I remember they were like, I forgot what they said, but they were like, your classmates look up to you as a leader. And I forget what they said exactly. And we had every semester we had these evaluations. We would go in with the performance faculty and they would rate us on our experience. And every time they would say I'm a leader, but there was one time they said I had to separate myself. They told me that I had to separate myself from my classmates. And I was like, what are you talking about? And not only that, they were giving good advice and they did really have our best interests in mind in retrospect, but sometimes they were just toxic. And I'm on a tangent now, but sometimes theater programs, they're very woo-woo, lovey-dovey, or they're toxic. I was in one of the toxic ones. But they said you have to separate yourself from your classmates and leave them behind. I was like, well, what are you talking about? These are my dearest friends. You want me to leave them behind and separate myself from them and all this other stuff? It felt like Machiavellian-ish. I'm not sure if I'm using that word correctly. But it seems very ambition hungry, which is something that I'm not afraid of. But just the way that they posed it, it felt like kicking my friends to the curb and saying, F y'all, I'm out of here. Let's blow this popsicle stand. And that felt absurd, but lo and behold, that's what I ended up having to do. And she didn't talk about this in the book, but this is something that I felt to be really beautiful. You know what I mean? What she did talk about is, going off on her vegan journey, and her husband initially didn't want to do it with her. But after her husband had seen the success with her on her vegan journey, you know what I mean? After people had seen her do X, Y, and Z, people came along who was like, I see you doing the success you've had, and now I want to do it as well. And that's what I learned. You know what I mean? That sometimes we want to bring people with us to the mountaintop, but it's up to us to go to the mountaintop ourselves, come back down, show everybody the riches that, of the accomplishment. And then that reward, the acknowledgement, the accolades that you receive from climbing the top and coming back down is the thing that actually motivates people to go with you. Yeah. Now, the other thing, she says everybody can't go. Everybody can't go with you. And then recently, you know what I mean? This because that was kind of the perspective, everything I've already said, that's kind of the perspective that I was getting from it. But I'm kind of going through this thing now, and I'm kind of going to flip it, but it's the same principle essentially, is that everybody can't come, right? Everybody can't go. And in this chapter, again, she spoke about, us, you wanting somebody to come with you, to go with you. But kind of the lesson I've been going through in the past couple of years, the divine and the goddess has led me through this process of essentially cleansing my social circle, right? And essentially what it's really turned into is that there are people that want to come with me. They actually want to go where it is that I'm going, and I want them to come as well. But my ancestors, spirit guides, and angels, they've determined these people can't go with you. You know what I mean? For a number of reasons. Some of the reasons are like, we just don't align. And it's not that like we have to have the same views and beliefs and all that, because I don't think that's what it is. But it's just like energetically, you know what I mean? Energetically, we don't vibrate at the same place. And the certain things that they talk about, that they believe in, and the ways that they spend their time, there were hindrances. You know what I mean? And then I just know that if I'm going to accomplish all that I'm meant to accomplish, I just got to have a certain caliber of person in my most inner circle, right? It's not that we can't be friends and we can't be acquaintances, but to be somebody that I pick up and call and get advice from, you know what I mean? That I trust as a confidant, you know what I mean? That I'm going to for ideas that are not only going to help me and make me feel comforted, but are also going to propel me to keep going in the direction I'm meant to go in. And some people weren't able to do that, right? And it's no fault to their own. We're all on our own journeys. And sometimes, we just don't line up with the people we want to line up with. And that's why, and that's really, it was nice to have like the flip side of that, like come to my mind as I was reading that chapter, that everybody can't come. There are people that want to go with you and you want them to come with you as well, but they're not fit for the journey. They're not fit for the journey. You should check this out as well. I was hearing this maybe about a month and a half ago, but Michelle Obama, in her book, The Light We Carry, in the interview she did with Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah had asked her, did you ever leave any friends behind or anything like that? And she said, yes. She said, too much elevation, not enough oxygen. I was like, that's good. She ate that. Right? And she just spoke about, and like she didn't speak about it explicitly, but I understood, when you go up, when you continue to achieve and achieve and achieve and achieve, some people are not fit to climb to the mountaintop with you. Yes, my loves. And it's sad and it's unfortunate because we want these people to go with you. But the other thing is that like some of these people and some of these friends, I've been telling them about what I'm doing, and I'm sharing knowledge and resources and information with them that I know is going to help them grow, but they weren't passionate about it. You know what I mean? And it's not that they have to be passionate about it, right? I'm always going to offer grace. And it's not that they have to be passionate about it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, if you're just going to go where I'm going to go, babes, if we're headed in the same direction, I give you tools and resources and you don't use them, you know what I mean? Because everything that I receive, I'm using and utilizing and maximizing. Every single tool, video, resource, if it's meant for my highest and greatest good, best believe I'm digesting it to the fullest of my capabilities and then applying it, okay? But not everybody does that. And then that's kind of what I want my inner circle to be like. People who share resources and information and inspiration and ideas, and that are also like thirsty or like hungry, for this certain type of achievement. And the people that I'm having to let go now, they just don't have it. They just don't have it. You know what I mean? And again, it's not a bad thing. But again, you can't come with me because I need people who have been through the training, who have the grit, who are trying to make it to the top of the mountaintop today. Not tomorrow, not in a week, not in a year or two, today, and actively trying today. Yeah. So yeah, everybody can't go with you and everybody can't come with you. Yes, my loves. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really got out of it. Again, I'm really loving this book. Let me know if you're listening to it, what resonated out of chapter 2 and 3. Let me know down in the comment section. Was there anything that I said that resonated with you that, maybe imparted any sort of wisdom? But yeah, that's all I have for you. I want to say please thank our ancestors, spirit guides, and angels, for allowing me to bring this message to you. I think that's what it was. And I think maybe I'll begin to close out my YouTube videos with a prayer too. Yeah, but I hope that and I pray that this video reaches who it's meant to reach and that they take everything that they need. And if it don't apply, they let it fly. Yes, Ashe. Thank y'all for watching. And until next time, this is Mo. Holla.